The planet is a pretty wild place. You might think you know it well. Oceans, mountains, countries, and the occasional viral animal video. But trust me, it hides some curveballs. These aren't the boring textbook-style facts you memorized in school. These are the kind of details that make you pause mid-video and go, wait, what? By the end of this little global road trip, you might find yourself rethinking maps and time zones. I'm Mike with List25, and here are 25 country facts that'll completely change how you see the world. But before we begin, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe with that notification bell. It really helps the channel. All right, buckle up. Let's go around the world. 25. Russia has 11 time zones. Russia is so huge, it spans across 11 time zones. To put that into perspective, if it's 8 a.m. in Moscow, it's already 7 p.m. in some other parts of the country. That's not just an inconvenience for scheduling Zoom calls. It's a logistical headache for everything from national TV broadcasts to train timetables. Imagine running a country where your citizens are having breakfast, lunch, and dinner all at once, depending on where they live. And yes, you could technically watch the sunrise and sunset in different time zones on the same day without leaving the country. They actually reduced the number of time zones in 2010 from 11 to 9 before deciding to bring them back in 2014, because apparently 9 just wasn't enough. 24. Canada has more lakes than the rest of the world combined. If you like lakes, Canada is basically your Disney World. This country has more than 3 million. In fact, over 60% of the world's natural lakes are in Canada. They're everywhere. Fly over it, and you'll see shimmering blue patches like someone splashed water across a map. And I'm not talking tiny watering holes here. Canada is home to some of the largest lakes on Earth, like Lake Superior, which it shares with us in the US, and Great Bear Lake. The crazy part? Even with all that water, some Canadian regions still deal with droughts. Canadians even joke that their mosquitoes are so big because they evolved near all that fresh water. 23. Australia is wider than the moon. Because maps tend to distort shapes, Australia's size is frequently underestimated. Here's the kicker. It's actually wider than the moon. The moon's diameter is about 3,474 kilometers, while Australia measures roughly 4,000 from east to west. That means if you somehow swapped the moon with Australia in the sky, please don't do that, it would stick out past the edges. It's wild to think about, considering most people imagine Australia as a smaller landmass tucked in a corner of the map. So in theory, you could stand in Western Australia and wave toward Queensland and still be further apart than someone looking at the moon. Kind of makes you wonder why Australia doesn't brag about it more often. I mean, bigger than the moon is a pretty solid tourism slogan. You're welcome. You can have that. Australians, Aussies, just I know your leaders are watching. 22. France has the most time zones in the world. You'd think Russia would win this one, but no. France takes the crown thanks to its overseas territories. In total, France spans 12 time zones. That's because French territories are scattered across the globe, from the Caribbean to the Pacific, the Indian Ocean, and even parts of South America. So while it might be lunchtime in Paris, it could be the middle of the night in French Polynesia. Managing this setup means France technically sees more hours of the day at once than any other nation. It's a relic of colonial expansion, but today it makes France feel like a country with an all-access pass to time. Imagine the New Year's celebrations. Paris rings in 2026, while some French islands are still sipping coffee in 2025. That's like celebrating your birthday in multiple time zones without ever leaving your citizenship. 21. Antarctica is the largest desert on Earth. When people hear desert, they usually picture sand dunes, camels, and sunburn. But Antarctica flips that idea on its frozen head. It's officially the largest desert in the world, covering about 14 million square kilometers. The reason? A desert isn't defined by heat, but how little precipitation it gets. In Antarctica, it gets less than 20 millimeters of rainfall per year. The air is so dry that your skin will chap in minutes, and moisture just vanishes, which is terrible news for psoriasis. Maybe I shouldn't go to Antarctica. It's also the windiest continent, with gusts reaching hurricane speeds. This place is inhospitable to almost all life, except penguins, seals, and a handful of hardy scientists who probably drink more coffee than anyone else on Earth. I think we have some subscribers from Antarctica, which is kind of cool. Hello down there. 20. The Diomede Islands are 21 hours apart. Two tiny islands, Big Diomede in Russia and Little Diomede in the USA sit just 2.4 miles apart in the Bering Strait. On a clear day, you can literally see from one to the other. But here's the time-bending twist. They're separated by international dateline, which means they are 21 hours apart. Standing on Little Diomede, you can look across the water and see tomorrow. It's often called the Tomorrow Island and Yesterday Island setup. In theory, you could kayak from today to tomorrow in under an hour, though the freezing Arctic waters make that a terrible idea, unless you're a polar bear. During New Year's celebrations, residents joke about watching the future happen across the water. The two islands have vastly different lives. Big Diomede is a Russian military base, while Little Diomede is home to a small Alaskan community. 19. Iceland has no mosquitoes. For most of us, summer means barbecues, beach trips, and the inevitable itchy welts from mosquitoes. But Icelanders don't know that pain because there are no mosquitoes in the entire country. Even in summer, nights can be chilly, breaking the insect's breeding cycle. For visitors, it is pure bliss. You can camp, hike, and fish without dousing yourself in bug spray. For locals, it's just normal life. This quirk adds to Iceland's already otherworldly charm, alongside geysers, volcanoes, and endless summer daylight. Some jokingly call the absence of mosquitoes Iceland's greatest natural wonder. And if you're wondering, yes, they still have flies and midges, but nothing that ruins a picnic quite like those buzzing, biting pests elsewhere in the world. 18. Japan has the most vending machines per capita. Japan has around 4 million vending machines, and they don't just sell drinks and snacks. You can buy umbrellas, fresh flowers, hot meals, eggs, batteries, and even ties if you spill coffee on yourself before a meeting. They are everywhere, on street corners, in remote villages, and even atop Mount Fuji. This love affair with vending machines is partly about convenience, partly about safety. Japan has very low vandalism rates, and partly about technology obsession. Many machines are touchless, and some greet you in multiple languages. They're restocked with military precision, ensuring your favorite canned coffee is always waiting. Tourists often end up trying bizarre offerings just for fun, like corn soup in a can or ice cream in a cup that dispenses frozen from the machine. In Japan, vending machines are as much as a cultural icon as sushi or cherry blossoms. One of my favorite ideas when I was in Tokyo, quick story, there was a vending machine that served not just hot and cold, both in the same machine, but my favorite thing about it was built into the machine was a recycling hole. So you could finish your drink and pop it right in, not have to carry it. Genius. Why don't we do that? 17. Australia once fought a war against emus and lost. In 1932, Australia found itself facing an unexpected enemy: emus. These large, flightless birds were wreaking havoc on farmland in Western Australia after migrating inland in search of food. Farmers were desperate, so the military stepped in with soldiers armed with machine guns. A strange emu war that lasted for several weeks ensued. The emus were too swift and dispersed to be overcome even after thousands of shots were fired. They outwitted the soldiers, evading gunfire and blending into the undergrowth. The government eventually abandoned direct fighting in favor of offering rewards to lower the number of birds because they were causing significant damage to crops. To this day, the emu war is remembered as a humorous example of nature outsmarting humans. The anecdote serves as a humorous reminder that sometimes you just can't win against wildlife, and Australia still has a thriving population of emus. I've pet them before. They're kind of adorable. If you ever get the chance, there was, probably still there, a petting zoo in Ocala that had emus. 16. In the northern parts of Norway, above the Arctic Circle, the sun doesn't set for several weeks during summer. Because of a phenomenon called the midnight sun, you may go hiking, fishing, or even play golf in the middle of the day at midnight. This natural wonder is seen in towns like Tromsø and Svalbard, drawing tourists ready to take in the bizarre eternal days. It's both a challenge for sleep schedules and a magical experience that shows how dramatically daylight can vary depending on where you are in the world. 15. Chile has the driest place on Earth. In northern Chile lies the Atacama Desert, which holds the record as the driest non-polar place on the planet. Some weather stations there have never recorded a single drop of rain, ever. Yet life still finds a way. Rare bursts of rainfall can trigger massive blooms of wildflowers, turning the dusty landscape into a sea of color. Because the Atacama skies are so clear, astronomers from all over the world come here to stare into deep space, making it a haven for stargazers. It serves as a reminder that both severe and breathtakingly beautiful surroundings can absolutely coexist. 14. Ethiopia has its own calendar. While most of the world runs on the Gregorian calendar, Ethiopia follows its own system, which is roughly 7 to 8 years behind the international date. For example, when much of the world celebrated the year 2020, Ethiopia was still in 2012. Their calendar has 13 months, 12 with 30 days each, and a short month of 5 days, 6 in a leap year. This difference comes from the way they calculate the birth of Jesus, and it's been in place for centuries. Ethiopians frequently begin counting the hours from sunrise. Therefore, 7 a.m. in the Western system is 1 o'clock in Ethiopia. That's another way that timekeeping differs in Ethiopia. For locals, it's just life. But for tourists, it might be difficult to acclimate. Ethiopia's rich cultural independence is reflected in this unusual system. Aside from a brief Italian rule, they've never been colonized and have maintained their customs while the rest of the world switched calendars. Although the Hebrew calendar uses the lunar calendar, so that's another different calendar. We're in the year 5780. Alexa, what year is it in the Hebrew calendar right now? So 5786. Thanks. 13. In Switzerland, it's illegal to own just one guinea pig. Switzerland takes animal welfare seriously. So seriously that it's illegal to own just one guinea pig. Because they're such gregarious animals, these tiny furballs may become lonely or melancholy if left alone. In order to keep each other company, Swiss law recognizes this and mandates that owners have to have a minimum of 2. If one dies, the owner is expected to find a new companion quickly. There's even a guinea pig matchmaking service to help pair up lonely pets. The law is part of a broader set of animal rights regulations in Switzerland that also covers species like parrots, which must have a partner, and goldfish, which can't be flushed alive. Although it may seem extreme, it's a cultural notion that animals should be treated with respect and affection. 12. Brazil is home to the world's largest Japanese community outside Japan. When you think of Brazil, images of samba, soccer, and the Amazon rainforest probably come to mind. But did you know it's also home to the largest Japanese community outside Japan? Of course you did. That was the title of this one. There are more than 1.5 million people of Japanese heritage living in Brazil. Most of them dwell in Sao Paulo. This movement began in the early 1900s when Japan was having trouble with its economy and Brazil provided chances to farm coffee. Over time, Japanese Brazilians became an integral part of the country's cultural fabric, blending traditions like sushi making with Brazilian flavors and festivals. Every year, Sao Paulo hosts the massive Festival do Japão, celebrating Japanese culture with food stalls, performances, and martial arts displays. Walking through the Liberdade district feels like stepping into a slice of Tokyo, complete with Japanese supermarkets and lantern-lined streets. It's a unique cultural mashup you won't find anywhere else on Earth. 11. Norway has a town where you're not allowed to die. In the Arctic town of Longyearbyen, Norway, there's a law that sounds straight out of a dark comedy. You are not allowed to die there. This isn't about eternal youth, sadly. It's because the ground is permafrost, so bodies don't decompose. Back in 1950, scientists discovered that viruses from bodies buried decades earlier were still intact, preserved like popsicles. To avoid potential health risks, the town banned burials. If someone is seriously ill or elderly, they're flown to the mainland to spend their final days. It's a practical solution to a very strange problem. The cemetery still exists for historical reasons, but it hasn't been used in decades. Tourists love the weirdness of it, and locals just accept it as one of those life in the Arctic quirks. 10. There's a country with no rivers. Saudi Arabia is the largest country in the world without a single permanent river. Not one. Despite its enormous size, more than 2 million square kilometers, it gets all of its water from artificial reservoirs, desalination plants, and subterranean aquifers. The desert climate means rainfall is rare, and rivers simply can't sustain themselves. Instead, the land is dotted with wadis, dry riverbeds that only fill up briefly during rare rainstorms. Because of this, managing water is one of the nation's main problems, which is why some of the most cutting-edge desalination equipment in the world is found there. The lack of rivers hasn't stopped Saudi Arabia from building sprawling cities, lush parks, and even ski resorts. It's a reminder that human innovation can thrive even in the harshest natural environments. 9. There's a town in Canada that bans door-to-door sales. In the small city of Hawkesbury, Ontario, door-to-door sales have been outright banned for years. The decision came after decades of complaints about aggressive sales tactics from companies peddling everything from vacuum cleaners to home security systems. The law means no more awkward moments pretending you're not home when the doorbell rings. For residents, it's a relief. They can enjoy a peaceful evening without being pitched in their pajamas. Businesses can still advertise, but they have to do it through mail, phone, or by setting up a shop in public areas. Interestingly, the ban hasn't hurt the local economy. In fact, it's made community events and markets more popular, since that's where people go to discover new products. 8. In Thailand, you can't leave the house without underwear. Thailand's quirky laws include one that makes it illegal to leave your house without wearing underwear. While it's rarely enforced, it technically remains on the books and is one of those fun trivia facts that surprises tourists. The origin of the law isn't entirely clear. Some say it was about public decency. Others claim it was tied to older hygiene standards. Either way, it's one of the several unusual Thai regulations, alongside bans on stepping on currency, because it bears the king's image, and driving shirtless. 7. Liechtenstein can be rented for events. The tiny principality of Liechtenstein, sandwiched between Switzerland and Austria, offers something you can't find on most tourism brochures. You can rent the whole country for a day. For around $70,000, you and up to 150 guests can have the run of its 62 square miles, complete with customized street signs, a temporary currency, and even a symbolic key to the country. This unusual offer was created to promote tourism and corporate retreats, but it's also been used for private parties and even a few extravagant proposals. While you won't get to change laws or mint coins, you can design your own temporary national experience. Liechtenstein is home to about 40,000 residents who usually welcome the novelty. It's a quirky reminder that in some parts of the world, the idea of owning a country, at least for 24 hours, isn't just a billionaire's daydream, it's a legitimate business model. 6. Australia once lost a prime minister. Literally. In 1967, Australian Prime Minister Harold Holt went for a swim at Cheviot Beach in Victoria and never came back. Despite massive search efforts involving divers, helicopters, and naval ships, no body was ever found. His disappearance sparked countless conspiracy theories, everything from being kidnapped by a submarine to defecting to China. Australians are still fascinated by the mystery, even though the official opinion is that he drowned because of high currents. In a move that feels both ironic and darkly humorous, the country later named a public swimming pool after him, the Harold Holt Swim Centre. To this day, his vanishing remains one of Australia's greatest unsolved political mysteries. It's the kind of real-life story that sounds like the plot of a thriller, but it actually happened, leaving behind a mix of national intrigue, urban legends, and one very strangely named swimming facility. How Australian of them. That's just on par, I'm being honest. Australian humor? Yeah. 5. Bhutan measures success in happiness, not GDP. While most countries obsess over GDP and economic growth, Bhutan decided to take a very different approach. Gross National Happiness, or GNH, was established as the nation's guiding philosophy by the King of Bhutan in the 1970s. Instead of focusing solely on wealth, GNH measures well-being across factors like environmental conservation, cultural preservation, good governance, and community vitality. According to Bhutan's constitution, at least 60% of the nation must always be covered by forests. As a result, the country is renowned for its tranquility, environmental stability, and sense of community. Tourists often note how relaxed and content the people seem, and studies have backed it up. The notion that a government's main duty is to ensure the happiness of its citizens is, of course, not without difficulties, but it's a novel approach in a society where success is typically gauged in terms of money and stock market points. 4. Monaco is smaller than Central Park. The entire country of Monaco could fit inside New York City's Central Park and still have room left over. At just over 2 square kilometers, it is the second smallest country in the world, after Vatican City. Yet, despite its tiny size, Monaco packs in luxury casinos, high-end shops, and a world-famous Grand Prix. The population density is staggering, over 26,000 people per square kilometer, meaning space is at an absolute premium. There's no airport, so visitors arrive by helicopter, boat, or car. What Monaco lacks in land, it makes up for in wealth. It's known for having one of the highest concentrations of millionaires in the world. And because there's no income tax, it is a magnet for the ultra-rich. It's basically the real-life version of Small but Mighty, a microstate where glamour and exclusivity dominate, and every square meter is worth a small fortune. That one could be fun. Let's take a picture of like a Google Earth map of Central Park and layer. Like, that's what I'm talking. Yeah, let's like, here's Monaco, have it go whoop, and like fit in, you know? Fun stuff. 3. Finland has more saunas in their country than you would think. In Finland, saunas aren't a luxury. They're a way of life. With a population of around 5.5 million and over 3 million saunas, there are more steam rooms than cars. They're found in homes, offices, gyms, and even on buses and ferries. For Finns, the sauna is more than just a place to relax. It's a social hub, a stress reliever, and even a spot for business meetings. The tradition runs deep. Archaeological evidence suggests Finns have been using saunas for thousands of years. Many say the sauna is where the best ideas are born, partly because it's one of the few places where you can truly disconnect. Phones aren't welcome, and the heat forces you to slow down. Whether it's in the depths of winter or during midnight sun of summer, the sauna remains a constant, a warm, steamy heart of Finnish culture. 2. South Korea has a holiday for single people. While Valentine's Day and White Day, a similar holiday in Asia, celebrate couples, South Korea has Black Day on April 14th, just for singles. On this day, people who didn't receive gifts on the previous 2 holidays gather to eat jjajangmyeon, noodles covered in black bean sauce, as a humorous nod to their single status. It's not a somber occasion. Rather, it's become a fun excuse to meet friends, commiserate, and sometimes even find a new partner. Cafes and restaurants run themed specials, and some matchmaking events are planned around it. The holiday is a reflection of South Korea's lighthearted approach to traditional customs, which find humor and happiness in otherwise depressing circumstances. Plus, it's hard to feel bad when you're eating a giant bowl of delicious noodles surrounded by people in the same boat. Finland's education system is known for giving students a 15-minute break every 45 minutes of instruction. The goal of this regular recess schedule is to keep children engaged, attentive, and content in the classroom. The approach stems from research showing that regular breaks improve focus and reduce stress. Finland has some of the greatest student satisfaction percentages in the world. It's a reminder that sometimes stepping away from work is the smartest way to learn more effectively. And that's all I have for today. But first, trivia time. Which country is actually wider than the moon? And you know what? I'm feeling a little spicy, so no multiple choice this time. Let's see who's actually paying attention. And that's it for today. If you like this whole video, then you might like this video as well, because it can change your perspective on how you view the world. Thank you guys so much. Like I said, like, share, comment, subscribe. Let me know which facts. Give me a fact about where you're from. That, you know, in the comments. Just let me know a fact about your country that maybe most people don't know. I'll catch you guys again soon.